Well, the Victorian government has reached out to the family of Barry Humphries to honour the late Australian entertainer who passed away over the weekend. Dickie joins us again. Dickie, we had the pleasure of interviewing him multiple times over the years, a really great relationship. Yeah. Tell us about that night that you shared with Dame Edna in the 60s.
Well,
tell us all.
Details are sketchy, ladies and gentlemen. Look, it was always such a joy. It was always sort of with some degree of trepidation because you never knew where he was going to go.
Yeah.
I said to him a couple of times, do you want to know what we've got on the list here? And he said, no. He said, I would have thought we'd give the tour a good plug, but other than that, just go for it and have some fun. And it really was sport because you never knew what he was going to say. But one of the things that fascinated me, we did a sit-down 20 years ago, actually, on the Today Show set. We recorded it on a Sunday. And I spoke to him about, you know, transforming himself into these other characters. And I'd never heard him say this before. I thought this was lovely to hear. Have a listen to this. I want to talk to you about how you do what you do. I mean, when you're getting into one of your characters, let's say Edna, when you're putting the makeup on and what happens? Is there a moment when you go from one to the other, a switch clicks, or how does it happen?
When I'm sitting at the dressing table,
okay,
and I'm transforming myself either into Les or Edna or Sandy or whatever I'm doing, there's the moment of, do I have to do this again? Why am I still doing this? Why can't I be having a swim or going or travelling or enjoying whatever else? And then there's a point when instead of seeing myself in the mirror, I see someone else. You cross the invisible line, and I realise that I'm not having to do this anymore. I can go home. Edna's going to do the show.
Oh. That is amazing, isn't it?
Just incredible. Wow. Just gives you some insight into what was going on in that brilliant, comical genius mind of his.
Well, that is what he absolutely was brilliant, and just even his choice of words, the way he conveys a story, it's something else.
He was so well read, so brilliant, so erudite. You know, I thought I'd slip that one in.
Yeah.
But then, you know, there were people like Sir Les, and again, you know, he didn't know what I was going to ask, and I didn't know what he was going to say. It's nice that it was pre-recorded with Sir Les because some of the stuff does get left on the cutting room floor. You know, he gave everybody a hard time over the years, but this was a little interchange with Sir Les. What's your vision for Australia?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'd like more people in the world to know it exists.
Fair enough, too. There you go,
He reminds us a lot of Australian politicians.
Our cultural attachment.
He nailed it, didn't he?
Just so many characters, and I guess elements of his own personality, but his great observational qualities.
Yeah. Well, you know, he started out as the housewife, the meek and mild housewife, Mrs. Normal average. You know, with the housewife and the hands in the dishwater and all that. But, you know, I love the fact that Barry managed to separate these characters and give them all their own personalities. But I did ask him if there was ever any crossover. Just on the subject of Mr. Humphries, we know you're friends, I suppose, but has there ever been anything more than friendship, ever any funny business?
No, I'd never think you'd... Anyway, with work colleagues, it's a no-no. To use a bit of a modern expression. You don't ever do, and I wouldn't have the slightest inclination. I've never seen his appeal. Never seen it. Some women have, and they've paid the price.
Oh, what a brilliant man. Yeah, we extend our love, of course, to Lizzie and the family, and we're left with sadness, but also happiness and gratitude for what he's left us with.
Yeah, and so much work. And thank you so much, Dickie.
So prolific.
Incredible legacy.
You have been incredible over the weekend. Thank you.
All right, Dick, let's go to entertainment now. And the world continues to pay tribute to the legend that was Barry Humphries.
Yeah, let's bring in entertainment editor, Richard Wilkins.
He's on Reddit.
He's on Reddit.
He's on Reddit.
He's been diving through Reddit with lots of memories.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Many of your own memories, of course, Dickie, with the great Barry Humphries.
Yes, indeed. Happy birthday, Sylvia.
Thank you very much.
Look, I think everyone's got their memories of Barry, whether they, you know, met him in an airport or somewhere, because he was so affable, so lovely to get to know. But, you know, he was one of a kind, but he was also many of a kind. You know, he was just so many different guises. It's like he lived so many different lifetimes, but it was always a joy to catch up with to Barry and talk to him. You know, talking to Sir Les Patterson was always dangerous and disgusting, rather. Barry himself was always so eloquent and, you know, worldly and well-spoken. He was just lovely. And Edna, look, we've got a little bit from Edna here, who's sort of reminiscing, reflecting on the time when she was just a meek and mild housewife, Mrs. Norm Everidge, of course, Mrs. Normal Average. She was just the every woman.
Why didn't I ever get that
growing
before?
up
Is that my eureka moment on that?
50s in
Oh, it's
Mooney
never too late.
Ponds. Let's reflect on the superstar talking about the housewife.
The truth of the matter is that many years ago, and I'm going back now to the 1950s, I'm probably one of the great, longest living institutions in Australia's theatre history, and I was standing in the kitchen with my wrists in the sink, that grey water with peas and mutton fat floating in it. And like so many Australian women, I was looking through chipped Venetians at a yard filled with broken toys. That's about a sad moment for a woman. It was before Valium.
He just tapped into the psyche, didn't he?
And he went on, she went on to say, in the cask wine there, the benefit of which you could never see the level going.
So good.
Well, everyone wants to pay their own tributes to Barry and to, well, all the characters, really. Is there going to be... there's obviously going to be a state memorial or something.
Well, you would think so. Yeah, there has to be something. Yeah, we're told that the Victorian government is in talks with the family to determine how Barry will, of course, be honoured. Creative Industries Minister Steve Dimopoulos says he's in conversation with the family. He said a range of ideas were on the table, maybe a state funeral, possibly naming a theatre after him. Wow. I know Barry had liked that. He was, of course, born and raised in Melbourne, but made Sydney and London his homes. I was thinking maybe simultaneous ceremonies in Mooney Ponds, Double Bay and the West End or something.
Perfect.
But something will come up and
like a festival.
So it should. A festival of Barry.
Like a Coachella, like a Barry-chella.
There you
Barry
go.
Chella.
Boom. See,
Love
we'll
it.
chop that.
Of all the clips that have played out of the last sort of 24 hours of him, I think my favourite are those of him with the Royals, who so often break cover, right? And you can see them just, particularly Charles, losing it at Dame Edna at times. And we've learned this morning that King Charles reached out and spoke to him in the last days of his life.
He was clearly a fan. Yeah, it's just, let's turn the sound up and just remind ourselves, we've all seen it 100 times, but it's still so good.
It's so good.
He's sitting there, got a good seat, and then, of course, you know, he met royals many, many times. King Charles was obviously a fan. We learned that he called Barry in the days before he passed and also sent an email to him while Barry was in hospital and also called him just before his death. Film director Bruce Beresford, who directed the Barry Mackenzie movies, said that Barry had said about the King, "I always admired him. We always got on well, and I really liked his company and enjoyed being with him." They must have known. I always wonder what they would have said to Charles and Camilla. You know, something's going to happen, and it'll be okay.
I'm sure they just said that Edna's coming. Don't worry.
Just go with it.
Just laugh along.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and
What's my name again?
Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?